Hey, this is Adam again with the Solar Truth, and we have an interesting topic today. It's solar in Hawaii. So, why was solar banned in Hawaii? We're going to get into details of what that means and what really the truth is behind that. There's been different rumors in the past, and people have been kind of confused. What can they do? What can't they do? And why this happened. So, the history of solar in Hawaii is the first thing that we kind of need to understand. And back in 2010, they were going to ban solar. So there was actually a proposed bill to ban solar, and Hawaii Electric HECO wanted to have this proposed. So that got rejected in 2010. But shortly after that, Hawaii Electric had problems and kind of made things difficult for solar. And it wasn't just because they were losing money. You know, that's not really what this is about. This is really a safety. And as an electrician, a lot of people, this doesn't make sense to, but when they realize how the electric grid works, it starts making sense. You know, the electric grid is kind of like a big battery, and it is balanced. You know, you have an even flow of energy, and it kind of goes up and down. You know, you have to produce as much power as people are using. And then there is some storage that goes on there too. But the problem with solar is it kind of throws that off. So basically, Hawaii has the most expensive electricity. So in the United States, they import petroleum and coal. There's a lot of importation, makes it very expensive. You know, coal is normally pretty cheap, but it's not cheap if you have to import it on a boat thousands of miles and stuff. So the electric ends up being about 3 to 4 times the cost in Hawaii as in most of the rest of the United States. Probably just about twice as much as California because it's pretty expensive too. But as far as kilowatt prices go, the costs in Hawaii are about 30 to 65, 70 cents a kilowatt. What that results in is somebody in like kind of a normal 3-bedroom small house, you know, that would have a $100 bill in most of the U.S. has a $400 bill in Hawaii. So solar is going to pay it for itself a lot better. You produce the same amount of energy, and you can offset your whole bill. Is how it used to work. But then they had too much solar, so the duck curve that we already talked about a little bit. Now you can go back to that video on how batteries can save you money and talk a little about the duck curve. The duck curve is solar's effect on the grid. Solar produces more power, and that reduces the demand on the grid, and then it goes up really fast and peaks now at a later time instead of earlier. So your peak of demand for for energy that the grid has to produce is now from like 4 to 9 p.m. So Hawaii is a small island, so they have another set of problems. They can't trade energy. They are very limited on their infrastructure. So they actually in 2013 or 2014, tried to connect Maui to Oahu. Now that's quite a big feat that they were trying to do there. Imagine running huge electric wires like underwater, I guess, from Maui to Oahu, and they decided that was going to be too expensive, so they did not do that. Instead, they end up making people get a permit through Hawaii Electric and whatever Hawaii utility company, as well as the city or county before they did solar. So you have some people like this lady here.
3 years to have solar panel installed.
That waited for multiple years. And then Hawaii decided to not let you, they took away net energy metering. So in 2015, other video explains net energy metering. They took that away. So your meter can't spin backwards anymore. In fact, you're not allowed to send any solar energy back to the grid in Hawaii because that duck curve, if that belly of the duck gets below zero, the grid has some big problems. You know, the grid could possibly start exploding transformers and, who knows what kind of problems. It's just not going to be good. So they can't allow any more solar to backfeed the grid. Otherwise, when there's really nice sunny days that aren't too hot, which is pretty common in Hawaii, not many people are using air conditioning and stuff, then too much solar you might produce more than the whole state uses, and it goes below zero, and there's those problems. So now, instead of sending your energy back to the grid, solar is not technically banned, but you're not allowed to send any solar back to the grid now. So you have to get a battery, and you have to charge that battery during the day. So when the solar, instead of that belly of the duck curve, that power goes into the battery. So then that curve kind of levels out. And then instead of that demand that's created in the evening, you use that battery power. So, that duck curve kind of ends up balancing out and becomes more even, making the grid a lot more stable and functional. So in summary, you can currently get solar in Hawaii in most cases. I mean, you do have to get approval, and you do have to go through Hawaii Electric first, and sometimes that wait can be like 1 to 4 years. It's gotten better, and they're pretty actually solar friendly now, but they do require you to have a battery and not send energy back to the grid. So there's a lot of limitations. It's not as easy as it used to be. People that got solar there a long time ago, they're pretty well off. They you get grandfathered in for a lot of those old rates. Hawaii Electric is also looking at, actually they looked at not paying you as much for solar power, but then they basically just didn't pay you anything for solar power now, which because you can't send it back to the grid. That's what net energy metering is, and they got rid of that. So you need to charge your battery with solar during the day and then use it at night. And that's how it works. Any additional power you use is going to come from the grid still. And any additional power that the solar could produce when your battery's full is kind of going to be lost. But it still is a really good payback because of how much Hawaii Electric charges. It's just the additional component of the battery, which costs more, and the having to use it, which takes your efficiency down a little bit. And sometimes your panels are just sitting there with the full battery and no power being used, and now your meter can't spin backwards, so you're not saving money for those few times. So that's about it. I will see you next time on The Solar Truth. Thanks.